This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. If you don't already subscribe to Paramount Plus, please use our affiliate link by going to talkthroughmedia.com/Paramount Plus. Using our affiliate link gives us a little credit, which helps us to keep bringing you great content. U.S. residents only.
Hello and welcome to episode 64 of the Star Trek Discovery podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Ruthie.
And tonight, it's actually tonight this time, we will be covering season 4, episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery titled Choose to Live. But before we get started, we want to remind you that we now provide early access to a virtually uncensored version of the podcast. Unentered, yes. Of the podcast that goes out within 24 hours of recording. And that's especially been true the last couple of weeks because unfortunately the episodes have not been going out too fast. So that's sorry about that. But if you want the one that has all the making of the sausage, it's only a minimum of $1 per month. And you can go to patreon.com/Brian and Ruthie. And we want to thank Jeff Bayako for joining the Patreon this week. So thank you so much. And we want to say... So thank you. All right. So we've got some feedback from last week's season 4, episode 2, titled Anomaly. So let's open hailing frequencies. Ruthie, you want to read that one?
Alrighty. Clint from Indianapolis says, I give this episode a 6 out of 10 bottle episodes. This was a pretty boring episode that took about an hour to tell us a 15-minute story, and not a very interesting one at that. This may be my least favorite episode of the series. It's good to see they are continuing to develop Culber as a counselor, a good fit. I have to agree with Brian S.'s comment on Gray. Every scene has nothing to contribute to the story. May end up being one of the worst Star Trek characters of all time. Hopefully, this is the last/only episode of the season that is purely set up for the rest of the season. I cannot disagree with that assessment.
What part of it? Oh, you cannot disagree. Yes.
I cannot disagree.
Yeah.
With any of it.
Yeah, we were talking before about that maybe you held your punches a little bit last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was pulling my punches a bit, and maybe I should not have because I was disappointed. But
yeah,
only episode 2, so I didn't want to come out of the gate like.
And I think it was one of those episodes where I liked it, but the more I watched it, I liked it less. So when I watched it again after we recorded, I felt like it. Like I know I gave it a 9.8. And it's probably not a 9.8 anymore.
No.
And, maybe a 9, maybe an 8, 8.5. This one is definitely not a 9.8 or a 9.5 or a 9. This one's not my favorite.
I have to agree with, I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was Brian S. That I think people were Is that Brian from Colorado? We'll say Brian from
Yes.
Colorado. I think people were rating the episode based on how it made them feel. Was that you, Brian from Colorado, who said that? Well, anyway, someone said that, and I agree. I can't remember where or when it was said, but I have to agree with that assessment. Maybe it's. Do you remember? No?
No, I
Well,
don't, but
I can't remember any more information. Maybe it's coming up. Maybe it's something that someone else said. I don't know. Anyway, I'm giving someone credit. Whoever you are, you know who you are, said that the episode was highly rated. Maybe it was on Facebook, probably, based on the way it made people feel rather than how it really was logically. It was probably on Facebook.
yeah.
You know who you are, Facebook watcher, listener, reader, commenter, person.
I mean, it had its moments. And I know some people thought, it got a few tens.
Yeah.
And
Which I really didn't understand.
yeah. Yeah. And like I say,
But,
I liked it a lot more, the first, say, couple, and then
yeah.
like, it's
I
weird how
think
some episodes, the one that in my rewatch, I'm reminded of this so much. Lethe. When Lethe came out, which is, it's the one where, Sarek has that coma, and you know, Burnham has to go into his mind and all that stuff. Anyway, that one, when it first came out, I didn't like it very much. But when I've gone back and watched season one, that's like one of my favorite episodes now. And it's funny how sometimes it can work in that way, and then there's other ones where it works the opposite.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think sometimes, and we have probably said this before too, it has something to do with that emotional reaction, whether it's positive or negative. And if you have that emotional reaction, depending on whether or not it's positive or negative, it might make you like or dislike an episode at first blush. But upon a rewatch, you might realize some attributes or positive or negative attributes, depending on your first blush, that make you change your mind.
Yes, I agree. And I think in the case of Lethe, I have more of an emotional connection to it than I did, probably because I'm more attached to the character of Burnham than I was when the episode came out. So, and especially that Burnham Sarek relationship, after seeing it develop for two seasons, and then also, seeing her in the two seasons after, it can also go the opposite way if it's just an emotional reaction and it's not all that, like, intelligently written. Like the point that you brought up about the not on their watch, well, that makes no sense. It's like, damn you, space tornado.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to get us.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking. Like, see, that's what I mean. It's like a false emotional reaction that they're going for. And I don't appreciate people trying to, like, do it with a little bit more finesse when you're trying to pull on my emotional heartstrings. Cause that was just, I don't know. Someone makes a comment for feedback for this episode that I will have to wholeheartedly and 100% agree with. So we will see that when we get there.
It is a topic that we discussed quite a bit last week. And although many of you haven't heard it at the time that most of you actually haven't heard it at the time that we're recording this, but you will. And we talk more about that subject this week because it was a highlight of this week. It was one of 3 plots. So guess what?
Well, yeah, but what I'm talking about is something else.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Next is James the Augmented Sailor. And he says, totally late with it, but hey, better late than ever. And of course, we always say that if you can't get in your feedback, just get it in anyway, and we'll read it whenever we can. So he gives last week's episode 8.6. I can't reach my stations.
That was funny though.
I just listened to the Patreon edition of the cast. Okay, James, rubbing it in. And basically, everything I had was said. So I think I'll just expound upon some things and try not to beat dead horses. Well, that's okay. You can beat dead horses. We do. Gray is shoehorned in, and I think we're all in agreement that if they don't find something for him to do, it's only going to add fuel to those that are beating that. They're only there for inclusion. They're only there for inclusion drum. To be honest, I feel that way with Adira at times as well, only due to the fact that they don't have a defined position.
I think Adira's position is just ensign in the science department, which is also weird because I feel like the departments aren't really defined. I mean, it was a science vessel when they first started, so to me, it's like the science department. But also, I mean, it's not engineering, but
Right.
Jet is an engineer, and she pops in from time to time. So maybe she pops in to do science stuff with the engineering geeks. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird for me because I can't like we don't have defined like positions. We don't have defined like when I say positions, I mean like the what like who is first officer, that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, just those kind of,
and that's
everything
the one
is
thing
so
we do have.
ill-defined. Yeah, now we know who the first officer is. Great. But
we
a lot
had
of
5
things
months
just,
of no first officer.
Yeah, apparently, which also makes no sense. You can't operate a vessel that way. Okay, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sad about it, but yeah, also weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and they define one thing this week, but they also sidestepped another for the same character. So, which we'll get into. But yeah, about Adira, it's like, okay, well, she's an ensign in the science department, and she does science. You know, well, what department in the science? You know, what specialty? Well, you know, she's science.
Yeah, it's science.
She's just general science. Oh, okay. You know, because that's what it seems
science.
like. You know, it's and especially, you know, like Stamets this year or this season, he's, you know, now he's not just the Spore Hub you know, science guy. Now he's the DMA guy.
The DMA. And it seems like I don't know who said this either, but maybe we'll get to it. I don't want to take it away from somebody if they said it and I can't remember. It seems like they do have a lot of this. They said it way better than I'm about to butcher it for them. Whoever you are, I'm so sorry. But they always have this like universe altering or whatever crisis. But at the same time, it's like, but only the Discovery can solve it. Wouldn't you have like the entire science in the Federation working on this too, rather than just Stamets and a few guys?
It's like even in Star Trek V, it's the only ship in the quadrant.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only ship ever, or he's the only science person who can. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
anyway,
you know, that's the one thing, you know, we understand that as far as Discovery is concerned, because it's got this drive that no other starship has that can get, to anywhere in a moment's notice. We get that.
Yeah.
But
They're not the only minds in Star Trek or Starfleet.
right,
They're not the only people with brains.
right. 1,000-year-old brains, you know.
Although, if you ask Stamets, he might tell you that he is. I don't know. That's kind of how he rolls.
Like the thing, I was thinking about this week. There was something that was conveniently placed in season 2 that now that we have season 4, I'm like thinking, oh, that's why they said this. And it was something that what's his name, Leland said, and it was this theory of how technological leaps like advance, with something like they'll have these momentous leaps in technological progress in like these fits and starts or something. I don't remember specifically how it was worded, but like, and that was used to explain the Red Angel suit, right? And if you think about it, that also explains in a way Discovery itself, because it's made these like momentous leaps in technology that couldn't even be duplicated 1,000 years in the future, sorry, 930. But you think about it, it's like, oh, that's why they said that.
Yeah, maybe. But also, I mean, I don't know if it's hard to say because we don't know of any technology that may or may not be out there currently that has been squashed and therefore no one has tried to replicate it. But I tend to think that if somebody is going to discover something, it's going to get discovered whether or not it is hidden. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you're at a point, technologically speaking, regardless of whether or not someone tries to hush hush,
Right.
you can't, you can't stop the progression of knowledge, I think is what I'm kind of trying to get at. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen that in the past with inventions kind of like all happening independent of each other, um, all around the same time without
Mm-hmm.
any communication between those people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly my point.
No. All right. So let's continue with James's feedback here. He says, you guys brought that up as well. And just to add to that, it seems like outside is the bridge crew, everything is run by committee. That just doesn't work in real life. They need to finally sit down with an episode and finally give us a structure with everyone's position on board. I'm going to hold my damn breath until they do, and then I'm going to die. LOL. I'm
Yep.
sorry, James. It was good to know you. Because unfortunately, I don't see them doing that. I'm not disagreeing with you. They should absolutely do it. And it frustrates us to no end that they don't do it.
Yeah,
And,
they should really put us out of our misery.
And in fact, like if I ever got to interview Michelle Paradise, I would be like, or Kurtzman, I'd be like, can you please define the crew?
Yes. I need some DTR.
You don't have to answer any of my questions. Just promise me you're going to do this season. Promise me. That would be it. That would be the shortest interview ever.
No kidding. I just want to know who is in charge.
Yes.
After Burnham.
Yes. Don't give me a wishy-washy answer.
Who takes over when she's on an away mission?
There's something that is brought up this week, and it's not the whole Culber thing, which we'll talk about. It's not specific person. But it's a specific position that doesn't get mentioned. And I was like, huh? And we'll talk about that when the time comes. But it just, I don't get it. I don't get it. Because
Mm.
for that matter, we know that the position I'm going to talk about did exist at one point. So anyway, actually more than 1 point, 2 points, 3 points,
Mm.
3 points
Mm.
that existed. Okay.
Mm.
Anyway, Ruthie, I know you said it.
Yes.
He says, Ruthie, I know you said it didn't logically make sense for Book to pilot the ship in the anomaly. I disagree. He was still the most qualified. He was, however, compromised and definitely needed a babysitter and backup. Detmer should have logically been sent with him to take over if she needed to, as the next most qualified to pilot his vessel. You also asked if Book maybe didn't trust Michael, and that's why he questioned. I don't think that was the case at all. He was so far inside his own head that he couldn't trust anything, let alone anything else. He was completely numb from losing everything he knew except for her, so I don't think he cared if he died. Guys literally think like this. I've thought like this in the past. Hmm.
Uh, I I cannot disagree about your assessment of his not trusting anything. I can buy that. But he might have been the most qualified when he wasn't compromised, but the very fact he was means he wasn't. So I still stand by what I said.
And I just said, okay. Because it was one of those things where it's like, well, I could argue with you, but I don't feel like it. I didn't agree with you last week, really, but I didn't feel so strongly about it that I really wanted to challenge you on it. Um,
Mm.
I think I largely agree with what James says here. I think that I think that he was qualified but emotionally compromised, and um, the I think the correct thing would have been to have Detmer go along with him, and if Detmer had to step in, then she could step in, but otherwise, you know, like put it that way, it would have been could have potentially been a much safer um, flight if he had a co-pilot, but instead he had Stamets as a holographic, you know, data keeper, and he couldn't really, offer anything. So even if Detmer was there holographically like Stamets was, I think that would have made sense. Anyway, that's my take on it.
I still say part of your qualifications of being a qualified pilot, I mean, it's his ship. He can do whatever he wants, right? However, if you're talking strictly qualifications, not right then. Nope, he is not. I don't think so. Knowledge is useless if you can't execute it. That's what I think.
True. My last thing is I'm wondering if the anomaly is sentient. It came at them as they got close to it. I know nobody wants to see someone else controlling it, but what about it being sentient? Honestly, it almost looked to me like a giant eye. I had thought about that, but it also made me think it was too similar to the sphere data.
Sphere data, yeah. I also thought about that, but I think after watching this week's episode, the eye was actually Book's eye, which doesn't make any sense, but it links because of when they did the mind meld and she
Mm.
backed out or she went in or whatever. It was his eyeball.
Aye, aye, Captain. Sorry, so long winded. I could go on, but I want to be able to get some feedback for the next episode in too. LOL.
That's okay. We took your long winded and raised you to
Yeah.
whatever is above long-winded.
And of course, we have no feedback in for last week's podcast, other than if well, did we? Well, I guess we kind of did. It was in what James just said. All right, so now we've got our episode for this week, season 4, episode 3, titled "Choose to Live," written by Terry Hughes Burton, who I believe is a co-executive producer, although I'm not 100% sure of that. I will probably check it. Directed by Christopher J. Byrne, and the description from ParamountPlus.com. Burnham and Tilly hunt the killer of a Starfleet officer as Stamets and the science team race against the clock to prevent the anomaly from killing anyone else. I was going to say everyone else. Not quite what it said. Anyone else. No star date given. The air date was, well, sometime Pacific time, December 1st, 2021. Obviously, Eastern and every other time zone, December 2nd. We don't know exactly what time because I was asleep. Runtime, 55 minutes and 29 seconds. Ruthie, what would you give this episode out of 10?
Well, I think I kind of liked this episode better than last week's. So I'm going to have to adjust the rating from last week, which I think I said 8.5, which I really wanted to do an 8. So I'm going to go.
It was actually an 8.8 you gave it.
8.8. Yeah. I wanted to do an 8. So I'm saying an 8 for last week because it's 8.5 this week.
Okay.
And hang on a second. I do have a quippy little quip. Maybe. There it is. Take care not to touch the swamp kelp while it is in bloom. So 8.5, no touching the swamp kelp when it's blooming.
Well, I'm just going to give my no as my rating. It's simply 8. Disliking cheese is an affront to all things good. So
that's funny.
I'm very, very disturbed that Tilly doesn't like cheese. That was like the worst part of the episode, and it made me drop the whole episode by 2 points. Just hearing that.
Wow. Yeah.
No.
I have to agree. I love cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese good.
In all seriousness, though, I did give it a no based on that. but that wasn't why it got an 8. We'll talk more about why it got an 8. All right, listener ratings. Why don't you start it off?
Jeff from Idaho says, my personal rating of this episode is 8.5 bars of latinum. I think you meant 8.5 bars of gold press latinum, because latinum is liquid. Have we checked Twitter for feedback also? Just... I don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe we should stop advertising Twitter.
If you've sent us stuff from Twitter, we'll have to figure out Twitter again, because right now we seem to have lost our ability to tweet. No, I can tweet. I just can't seem to figure out when something comes in. So anyway, that's terrible. All right.
Terrible.
James the Augmented Sailor says 9.4 math. The performances here by Rapp and Ajala sold the past tension and moved it along for me. Yeah, I agree.
Me too. I like how he was a little protective of Book.
Yeah, he was.
But at the same time, let it be ultimately his decision. So good for him. All right, Will from SoCal says Discovery Season 4, Episode 3. I rank this episode an 8, disturbingly not delicious.
Yes, that I was in utter shock when I heard her say that.
Yeah, mac and cheese is like the best comfort food
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. I lost respect of Tilly after that. Brian from Colorado says I rate Choose to Live 8.5 out of 10 mind melds.
Rick from Cleveland says, I enjoyed this episode overall and rate it 9 out of 10. Never bring a phaser to a sword fight. True.
Kim from San Diego, and of course, the uh, Star Trek Prodigy podcast by Rebinge It. She says, I like this episode more than last week's. I'd give it 7 sets of buttocks out of 10. And I believe Kim is a tough rater based on the ratings I've seen her give in the past. And of course, James, her husband, he likes to give everything a 10. So it balances itself out.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad they're balanced. They're a good match then. All right, Wes from Minnesota says, I give this episode 8.5 dart throwing sessions out of 10.
All right, so let's move on to our yeses.
Yes! She's really excited. Starting off with Jeff from Idaho. The away/battle uniforms that Burnham and Tilly wore. Badass. The sweet dartboard Adira was throwing at. Stamets's passion to solve the anomaly quandary. I can almost feel his frustration and his desperation to figure it out, knowing what's at stake. He is, in my opinion, the best actor on the show. Number 4, who doesn't love a good old-fashioned mind meld? And number 5, President Rillick is growing on me. The political complexity of reconstituting the Federation requires someone exactly like the character she is playing. I concur.
Yeah, I do concur as well. I like her. Like I said in the first episode that I thought she was going to be an interesting character, and so far she is being an interesting character. So she is, yeah. So
I feel like Burnham's dislike or whatever it is, distrust, something of her is unfounded.
yeah, I agree.
They haven't really done anything to point to why she would feel that way about her. It feels out of the blue to me. Like, did something happen in that 5 months or something that we don't know about? Which it falls flat if that's the case. I don't know. I mean, I thought though that she was a new president. So
yeah.
Was it during the campaign or something? She did something she didn't like. I don't know, but it feels disingenuous.
Yeah, perhaps.
I mean, I understand not liking politicians, but have a good reason for it because they are, after all, a necessary evil.
It reminds me of, and this isn't canon, but you'll get the reference when I bring it up. The Last Best Hope, the book about the 5 years before the synth destroying the Mars stuff and all that stuff that happened in Picard.
Mm-hmm.
We see in that novel, and if you don't want to hear about it, spoiler right now, but we've talked about it quite a bit on this or on the Picard podcast specifically, that Picard had a disdain for politics, and he couldn't understand why there were people in the Federation that were making it a political thing to rescue the Romulans, when he looked at it as just a humanitarian thing. And it's kind of like Burnham is kind of being played that way, that she can't understand why um, that she just by default hates politics. It reminded me of it, but this is more specific, I guess. But
I understand that too. And most of the time, I dislike politicians, but mainly because I feel like they don't do anything worthwhile. But I don't feel like I've seen that from Rillick, which is why I don't understand
right,
the attitude.
Vance has said something. He said something in the first episode about like a politician, a good politician can be a valuable tool.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
I wrote that quote down. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah. And he also makes an interesting analogy. Burnham says, that's kind of a long-winded analogy. And he says, I get paid by the word.
Yeah,
that was funny.
That was funny.
But he's correct that.
Oh, I didn't write it down. Dang it.
Well,
I wrote political whatever Vance said.
Anyway, he brought up the fact that this week said, that he said that she plays the violin, I think.
He said, I will tell you exactly because I do remember this specifically. Okay. Burnham is the first chair solo violinist who has the flashy solo. He's the drum section providing the backbone of the the backbone and the I can't remember what he said, beat maybe, but he said she's the conductor and we don't have to worry about whether or not the brass, what did he say? Who did he say was drunk? The winds were drunk or the brass and the somebody are at war?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I really liked that analogy a lot.
Yeah, I thought that was good too.
Yep, it was.
Wes is next. He says something we're going to talk about, I believe. Finally, Gray gets to be real. Like that. And then he says, the Discovery Lounge had vibes of Quarks and 10 Forward. It was like the two had a baby. I would say that was accurate, and I'll have more to talk about when that comes. Culber being both a medical officer and a counselor is great. Yes. Yep. Although,
however,
I still have a question about that. And that is, he's medical officer, but is he chief medical officer? Doesn't sound like it. It does sound like he's like, so he's Counselor Troy, but Dr. Solar. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
And if you don't get the reference, Dr. Solar was like mentioned several times on Next Gen, but only seen once. supposed to be the assistant chief medical officer. So I don't know. That's what it seems like to me. But I know that at one point Pollard had a lower rank than Culber did.
Culber?
So yeah. In season Pollard 1, Culber had 2.5 pips and Pollard had 2 pips. I watch these things. So these things are important to me. So, I must know. All right. Next.
All right. James, the Augmented Sailor, says, Blue Del Barrio's performance with Gray's new shell. You do feel the love. Now they've got to figure out how to make him relevant.
Indeed.
Yeah. A Picard reference that wasn't negative for me, unlike the callback to Jean-Luc in a synth body. The Navarre president, Trina, picking up Book's feeling of guilt. It weighed on him so much that it affected the way he walked. I agree. I picked this as a yes because I enjoyed the entire interaction between Book and Trina.
Yeah.
I really liked it
This,
because
yeah.
I have always said it's not that Vulcans don't have feelings.
Yeah.
They're not robots.
Yeah. And I think that this episode did a much better portrayal of that than we've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely got that, and I think this will help a lot of people understand that, Vulcans, and maybe, like 800 years in the future, Vulcans are more in tune with their emotions and don't try to like disavow their existence as much as they do, say, specifically, I'm thinking of the one episode of Lower Decks that recently was on, where somebody gets kicked off the Vulcan ship because she's using too much intuition. you know,
Oh, I don't know. I was gonna say I'm pretty sure they've always acknowledged that emotions exist. They just suppress them. So
yeah,
they're yeah. I don't know. I I liked it. I mean I don't well, I would not be surprised if there were some differences because they did after all reunify with Romulan? Romulus?
right.
Romulan? Whatever. That place. But I don't think that they're suddenly going to stop embracing um whatever that word was that she said that I even looked in subtitles and still didn't understand it. Whatever that word was. That means suppressing emotions.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that word.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I didn't catch that even with subtitles. So there you go. Okay. Anyway, moving on. The bar, 10 forward area Adira, Culber, Saru were in really reminded me of Quarks, substituting fire pits here for climbing ivy. Quarks.
Yes, and it did in more than one way, which
Yeah.
we will get to. I have it and spot the references heavily, but I think pretty much everything that is listed there is going to get mentioned before I get to it. So, Will from SoCal is next. He says, to Saru, advising Dr. Culber, it is difficult to ride two veil beasts with only one set of buttocks. Maybe time for Dr. Culber to choose ship's counselor or medical doctor. President Tarina assisting book Finding Peace. Well, if that's getting back to what he said there, maybe he is going to choose ship's counselor, because that does seem to be how they're using him more and more. I don't know, but we'll see.
Mhm. Maybe they're finally figuring out that we need to define the relationship with all of these people so that we know where we stand.
Oh, one can hope. And
Oh
yes,
my
we're going to beat
goodness.
that dead horse until this show defines it, because inquiring minds have to know. It's like
We need
this
to
is like
know.
my single biggest criticism of this show.
It's really what happened is before they decided to do the Lower Decks cartoon, they were going to do Lower Decks and make it Discovery. I really feel like that's what was happening, and they just decided that they weren't going to go in that direction, but they started off that way, like not with these undefined roles for these people who just exist on this ship, and they were going to kind of maybe do that, but then they decided it would be better as a cartoon, cartoon and a funny show. Which, if I mean, honestly, it makes sense if you think about it, based on that interview that guy had on Trekland Tuesday with oh crap,
Oh,
I
Mike
just forgot
McMahon?
his name. Yeah, the
Yeah.
interview that
Larry Nemeczek made?
thank you
Yeah.
had with that guy.
Yeah.
Because he was going to do Discovery, but then he decided not to. I'm like, why? Because he wanted to do a funny show. They wanted to do Lower Decks, not funny. And he was like, no, I need to do funny or something. Whatever you said.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah. It was basically he could have been a producer on Discovery, and he just thought, well, I'll just be the funny guy in the room, and I won't learn more about doing a funny show. So I'm gonna be around people that are funnier than I am and learn from them so I can be funnier. So when it's time to make my Star Trek show, it'll be great. So, and that's I think what happened.
Which is why stuff in Discovery is so fuzzy, because they were gonna do that and then they didn't. That's what I think. I don't know. Maybe not.
No, I mean, I think you're right to an extent, and I think it was also a lot of that stuff was defined by people in charge that didn't think that those things were so important.
Yeah, that too.
You know,
Jagoff, who screwed up the Klingons.
yes.
Anyway, who are now still conspicuously absent.
Yeah.
Which I grow weary of. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in last week, and still not there. So.
Yep.
we may use that every week. All right.
Instead of where are my dragons? Where are my Klingons? No, nothing. Okay. Swing and a miss.
No.
All right. Let's move on.
No swing and a miss. You hit the ball. You got a base hit. You just didn't. You didn't hit a home run. You got a
line drive.
You got a nice solid single. You're on base.
Am I on first?
Or you want to put it in your terms. You got a first down. Okay, you're moving the ball. You're moving the ball downfield. You didn't get in the end zone. You're not in field goal range yet, but you got a first down. So just keep going.
All right, thanks.
The drive keeps going, so that's all you need.
Oh, football.
I heard the Bedlam didn't go very well.
Some stuff's happening in Norman, and Sooners ain't happy about it. Just in case you didn't know, our buddy, our pal, decided to leave for USC directly after the Bedlam loss.
Oh no!
Kind of makes you think maybe his heart wasn't in it. Thanks for screwing us, bro.
Huh.
And not only that, we're going to the SEC. I mean, our program is basically destroyed. We're going to the SEC next year. Probably, maybe Lincoln Riley didn't want to go to the SEC, which is why he was entertaining other offers. Or maybe they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. I don't know. But, yeah. So, folks in these parts aren't happy about the goings-on with the football lately, or the people in charge of the football who are dumb. So, there you go.
And I think that's this whole conversation, both that and what we were talking about previously, is worth.
What is this bizarre segue that's happening right now? Can we maybe stay on point?
All right, let's move to the next one. Brian from Colorado is next.
Blaine.
I never get tired of that one either.
I know, me too. Oh my gosh. Okay. Brian says, I'm glad that Vulcan Navarre plans to rejoin the Federation. Getting to see some of Vulcan Navarre was nice. I'm glad the mind meld helped Book gain some peace, even if it was a little odd the president attended the meeting of the scientists. I agree. That was kind of a little odd. It was nice that Tilly was chosen for the mission to go with Burnham and her mom to bring in the Qowat Milat fugitive. And yes, reasons matter for everything, such as why this person was stealing dilithium for her lost cause. Yeah, I agree. If you recall, a season 1 episode entitled Context is for Kings.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I feel like Burnham forgot that.
Kind of did. And she kind of shouldn't, even if it's, mere Lorca that taught her that lesson, but it's true. Now, she still, what's her name? Tavini? What's her name?
Who?
The
Javini?
The one that the Qowat
Rogue
Milat.
sister?
Javini. Anyway, Javini was, clearly wrong in what she did. But
wrong in her methods.
Yeah.
I have things to say about that, though. Shaking my head. All right. Two other fun yeses for me were the dartboard reminding me of Bashir and O'Brien on Deep Space Nine playing darts, and the line by Burnham's mom saying, "That's not a moon, it's a spaceship," which is almost a direct quote from Obi-Wan in Star Wars.
Yep.
So true. And he said episode 4, but everyone who knows it's Star Wars knows that it's Star Wars. You don't have to say episode 4. We know.
Yeah, that's a whole generational thing. It's like for those of us that grew up with Star Wars and there only being, the first 3 for, years and years, we don't call it, episode 4, or we don't call it A New Hope. We call it Star Wars.
Yep. It's the first one.
Yep.
And my dad said even when it came out in the theaters, there was no episode 4 A New Hope.
Oh no.
It's Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, the only way you knew it was episode 4 was on the scroll
text.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the only way you knew it was a new episode 4 A New Hope, and you're thinking episode 4, where'd the first 3 episodes go? But
yep.
But
yep.
All right. Next is Rick from Cleveland. He says, yes, for the dynamic between Book and Stamets. Stamets took Book's feedback from last week to heart and is very sensitive to his experience in the loss of his home world. Yeah, I thought that this is the most sensitive that we've seen Stamets being of anyone beyond, say, Culber. So I think he's...
Or
Adira, yeah. So he's finally, I think, becoming more emotionally aware and emotionally sensitive to others. So,
his EQ is increasing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yes, for the Qowat Milat. Romulan warrior nuns are almost always a great story element. I enjoyed the expansion of the choose to live mantra to include paths and choosing a new path. This is a very interesting tweak on the philosophy. Well, I know someone that disagrees with you, and I don't think we got in feedback from him yet. So I'll just rat him out right now. LT does not like Romulan warrior nuns, or yeah. So we
got against warrior nuns, LT.
I don't know, but he didn't get his feedback in, so we can't ask. But we can ask him.
We can ask.
We can ask him. We just won't be able to find out more about why. So
until later.
He said, but he did say that he enjoyed this episode more than any other episode this season. So it's his favorite so far, but he hated the warrior nuns. So
now I am of burning curiosity to know what's your deal with the warrior nuns? Why do you hate women?
I don't think it had to do with that.
Just kidding.
To me, it's probably like the flying Elvises.
Oh my gosh. I'm just kidding, LT. I know you don't hate women. You just hate fun. Sorry. I'm just kidding still. I have to razz you because I like to. Okay. Alrighty.
Yes,
Let's see.
we razz people that we like. That's always true.
Okay. Kim from San Diego and Prodigy says, love the upgraded dartboard. Another nod to DS9. Also, when Tilly dropped the sword, the look on Michael's face was priceless. It really was.
It was, yeah.
I moisturized my hands. Oh, that was funny. Oh, my goodness. The use of the mind meld between Booker and Tarina was really good. Good acting, good use of the Vulcan's ability to feel emotions deeply but control them. Yeah. Especially at the end when she said, my condolences are insufficient.
Yes.
Understatement of the century. But yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
All right. It's time for ours. So what do you have for yeses?
Oh gosh, let me see here if I can. I choose to live 100%. I choose to live absolutely.
Yeah, that was funny.
Hilarious. Now I need you to stay here as bait. That whole thing made me laugh. And then there is Tilly. I'm just gonna be bait. And then she shows up, step away from the I choose to live.
Yeah, Tilly was much more Tilly this episode. You know, she was more of that comedic awkward Tilly, but funny Tilly that, you know, we got to love in the first couple of seasons. We haven't seen that much of in recent times, so it was good to see her again.
Yeah. Agreed. I enjoyed most of Tilly this episode. There was one thing that I was like, that was a miss. Let me think. I really I think I said this before. I really liked the orchestra analogy that Vince gave.
Yeah.
I really liked that a lot. I also said I really enjoyed the interaction between Trina and Book. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I guess I'll start with, like you said, Trina and Book, but I'll say specifically their performances. David Ajala, this season so far is hitting it out of the park. He's been really, really good. And I think that's been true all 3 episodes so far this season.
Yeah. They've given him some really good meat and he's just chewing it.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's not over chewing it. Like, you know, he's applying it with just the right amount of emotion. He's not going too far with it. He's not, you know, so he's not making it melodramatic or making it over the top. At times it's very subtle. At times it's very understated, and at other times, you know, you can just see it in his eyes, or you see it in the way he walks. It's just so. Anyway, he's doing such a good job, and when the scene where he in the mind meld where he sees Leto, and you know he sees that Leto look back at him, and you see, you know, his forehead glowing and stuff. I got teary from that because, you know, I could feel just kind of that weight come off of Book just a little bit, you know, and anyway, that only comes out from the performance of the actors there. So Tarina is also doing well. I find her wig a little distracting at times. But that's true for pretty much any Vulcan.
Any hair prosthetic.
Yeah, it just never looks right. but aside from that, she's actually been really good on the show, and has been, on the times that she's been on there. And I think she's been on there second and third episode, right? She wasn't in the first episode at all, I don't think. But anyway, she's been, that I can remember anyway. She's been good, and I hope we'll continue to see her throughout the season. Of course, I mentioned Vance. We're getting less of Vance, it seems, but we're getting, I think the scenes that he's in have been effective. So Oded Fair is making good use of his screen time. The I agree with everyone who said about Anthony Rapp in this particular episode, and his acting on this was good as well. I did like, how he was kind of like expecting everyone to, have like a meeting schedule and all that stuff. It was kind of like dismayed when they kind of just went into meditative mode.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what Stamets would do. He'd be all, kinetic energy, wanting to go, and would be kind of like a little frustrated, I think, in the moment anyway, with that. So I think that was right on the money. It's always good to see Burnham and Mama Burnham together. So although I didn't 100% like the use of the Qowat Milat in this storyline, I do like the interaction between the two actors and the two characters, but not necessarily the story. But that said, I did like the whole, this planet or moon is a ship, kind of, science fiction kind of story, and grave robber kind of thing. I did like that aspect of it because it was a very science fiction-y kind of story. And the Kreenan ship was kind of cool. It looked kind of sort of Discovery-ish. It was almost like Discovery with the nacelles flipped at a 90-degree angle. So curious about that ship. And the guy that...
I want to know how long they've been in cryostasis.
Yeah. Hundreds of years, it seemed.
I would say probably longer than that. If they don't even show up in a database.
Yeah.
I would say over 1,000 is what I would say. Maybe thousands. I don't know. I still want to know how long, though.
There's a lot of things that I didn't like about the whole Adira Gray story. There were a couple of things that I did like. I did like the interactions between the two characters and the acting, particularly of Blue Doberio. I think she's actually really doing well on the show. And I like that we got to see the Trill Guardian again, because that was a big question from last week. It's like, well, how the hell are they going to get get his consciousness in there? And it's like, oh yeah, the Guardian will have a way to do it. So that made sense. Now I still don't quite understand how that was handled technologically, but I can yada 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 it. That'll fine, because that whole thing is yada 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 a bull, if that's a word. It's not, but I just made it one. And I guess that's about it that I can say for yeses. I may have some other things that'll come up, but that's, I think, all we're going to get into right now. So let's go into our no's.
No, 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 no!
And by popular demand,
No!
we have another popular demand that I'm going to bring back to this week.
Okay.
All right. So sometimes our yeses and nos kind of all kind of fit into groups. And that is the case this week. It seems like most of the nos fit into two big groups. The first group is the whole Gray story, and the second group is the whole Giovanni story. So I tried to group them up here. So let's do it that way.
All right. From the Adira Gray storyline, Jeff from Idaho says, I don't care for the Adira Gray storyline at all. As Adira is sitting with the Gray avatar waiting for him to animate, I feel complete apathy for the outcome. If the incubator just dissolved or imploded and Gray was gone forever, I would yawn. Next. This subplot feels crowbarred in and doesn't support the arc of this season's story in a material way that I can see, and detracts from more screen time for the senior crew that I think we need to bond with this particular Star Trek series. This one no is worth about 5 yeses, thus my 8.5 rating.
Continuing with that, Kim from San Diego and Prodigy says, the Gray story is boring. Boy, she gets right to the point. I don't care about that character, and the acting is questionable. Please move on or give Gray a story that links to the crew somehow. Also, we aren't using Tilly enough, and I miss Jed. Okay, well, that's...
I miss Jed too.
Yeah. And then our last one is Brian from Colorado, so go ahead and read that one.
Brian from Colorado says, I'll continue to express my dislike for the entire Gray plotline, even though it may turn a corner now that he's in a body. I didn't understand what the Trill Guardian expert was doing there and how the consciousness transfer to a synth body was at all related or overlapping with the process of a symbiont transfer. It wasn't explained. I will admit that I softened my stance towards the Gray plot somewhat during this episode and following the Ready Room interview. I do strongly disagree with Will Wheaton when he said that Discovery is just showing Gray as a person rather than making an overt transitioning / coming out story. I do strongly disagree with Will Wheaton when he said that Discovery is just showing Gray as a person rather than making an overt transitioning / coming out sort of plotline. I don't think Discovery writers are doing a good job at making this seem natural at all. They are handling Adira much better, my personal grammatical difficulty with they pronoun use for a singular person notwithstanding. I could not agree more with this statement if I tried. Almost every word of it. That was me saying that. Me, Ruthie.
Yeah. And me, Brian, says we talked about this today and we're right there with you. I mean, it's tacked on. It just feels it again, like Ruthie had the perfect word for it last week, token. He still feels like a token transgender character. And until they give the character a purpose for being there, other than just being Adira's partner, I don't think, it's like, what is it? The Bechdel test? Like if a character,
Bechdel test.
Yeah. If a character can't exist outside, like this specifically usually toward female characters, but I think it applies to Gray here. Everything about Gray seems to relate to Adira, and other than Adira, and this, I have a thing. There doesn't seem to be any purpose for the character being there. Now we learn that he wants to be a guardian. Okay, well, if he's a guardian, that will take him off the show. So he'll finally find a purpose off the show. Great. Yep. Good for you.
Yeah. So again, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to know where they're going with this. I agree with you. Like, great, you want to be a guardian. That means you're leaving.
Right.
So
That,
we went through all of this just so that you could leave.
yeah.
I don't know. I really agree with, I don't think that the writers are doing a very good job at making very many things seem natural at all.
Yeah.
And I cannot remember if someone else said it or if it was just Brian who said this, but when I was entering in your feedback and I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, they are not. I think it was someone else who said this as well. Again, as I was entering the feedback, I was reading this going, yes. But we'll probably get to that in a minute. But I just, I feel like they're just missing the mark.
They are missing the mark.
It's not up to the usual standard that I'm accustomed to. And it hasn't been for a while. And I don't know whose fault that is, but I know it's someone's.
Well, and the thing that I was going to bring up is that, Will Wheaton has watched ahead. It's pretty obvious by watching those episodes of The Ready Room, which I've got something to say about those episodes of The Ready Room, that he's watching ahead. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he may kind of be, what's the word?
He has a longer view.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm trying to say that he may not be aware of the fact that he's got that opinion based on episodes that none of us have seen yet.
Right.
Right. So he's basing an opinion upon watching 10 episodes or 13 episodes, or 8 episodes even. But we've only seen 3 episodes. So our opinion are based on the 3 episodes, where his are based on seeing much more of the story. And we may get to that point where we've seen the whole season or seen as many episodes as he's seen at this point and go, oh, that's where they were going. But
I think he said that he had watched ahead or had seen 5 episodes, I thought.
Well,
so I'm like, that's not really that much farther ahead,
it's
honestly.
Not, but it is 2 episodes ahead of us at this point.
Yes, that's true. But I feel like, I really feel like that's shaving it a bit thin, don't you think? That's expect this grand turnaround in 2 episodes, basically. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It's
possible.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's, if you do the math, it's, it's like
math.
It's a 66% increase in
over what we have right now
in content. Yes.
Yes. All right. Fine. Still, though, I think that's wishful thinking. Just think that's suddenly going to be so much better.
He could also be, towing the company line, and that is kind of where I'm going to go with my nose when it comes in. But just a little hint there. So we'll see. But there were some things that we got out of this character, and it's good that he's finally a physical being at this point. I'm glad in a way that we didn't have that situation that we talked about last week, where could he be in 2 places, and what's gonna be like if he's in 2 places. Thank goodness he's not in 2 places. Somehow he's left to Dira. Okay, great. But again, they need to give him a purpose on this show, not on some other show, not Star Trek Trill. Okay.
Yeah.
He needs to have a purpose on this show. And if he's not going to have a purpose on this show, then why is he here? It shouldn't just be to represent. I believe that it's fine for a character to represent, but give them a purpose to represent for, right? Like show that gendered people are just as effective chief engineers as anyone else, or whatever. Give
I
them a
think it
purpose on the
does.
show.
Yeah, I think it does him a disservice, rather like just a disservice to have him there just to be there, and that's how
Right.
it feels right now. And I don't think that's helpful really in the grand scheme of look at me, I've got diversity characters on my show.
Yeah.
Like you're not really helping. Like make them like right now they're not beloved. People aren't falling all over themselves to love this character. They're like, why is this person here?
Right.
Whereas if you take a show like Winona Earp, one of the most favorite characters and character pairings, they even have their little ship name, Way Hot. And that's an LGBTQ character that people love. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's an example of doing it right.
And I think, that Adira's character, I think, is being played much better. Yes, her science officer, ensign, her job might be poorly defined, but we know that she's a science officer and she reports to Tilly. So that's
Yeah,
something,
we know Adira is really good at science.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's at least, we know that she serves a purpose. We know that the ship is better and more competent with her on it. So that by itself, helps. And I think I said her again, just screwed up again, but helps their character.
You've been
have
saying
a
it
purpose.
the whole episode.
Yeah. Damn it.
That's okay. That's okay.
Old.
People will forgive us.
Anyway, they have a purpose in the show, and I think their purpose is seen, but I can't say the
They
same for Gray right
contribute
now.
meaningfully.
Yeah,
They
maybe
give meaningful contributions.
Maybe Gray becomes the counselor, and Culber becomes chief medical officer, and says, "Screw it, you can be counselor." There you go.
My gosh.
Perfect.
Let's make it believable though, shall we?
Yeah. I know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think we've beat on that horse. Have we beat on it enough? I don't know.
No, I have a feeling we're going to talk about it again, probably next week.
Beat on that horse some more.
But
that poor horse.
Like when I will say, Brian from Colorado, that my reaction to what Will Wheaton said on the Ready Room was much like yours. I was kind of like, huh?
What?
Yeah, I was not understanding of it, and it could have been more of, this is what they want us to, this is
how you feel, right?
Yeah,
no.
Exactly. They're telling us how we should feel.
Yes.
Versus what we actually feel,
Yeah, and I don't like that.
No.
I'm pretty sure I know how to feel.
You definitely do.
I don't need you to tell me how I feel about something. I can figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
I'm grown up.
And I think it's also worth saying, I don't like having to throw these criticisms out at the show. I don't like it. I want, if they're going to have the LGBTQ characters on this show, make them interesting and give them a purpose. And I think they're batting 500 on here. I think Adira's good so far, and Gray is not. And so
yep.
That's where we're at. All right, so the next group of no's has to do with the whole Qowat Milat and how that went. So James, the augmented sailor, starts it off. He says, Gabrielle blatantly violated absolute candor when she hesitated telling Michael about Giovanni. I get that she's human, but the Qowat Milat is derived from a much more deceptive species. I say it was deceptive because she really took time for a person of her nature to answer. One could say that it would cause distress in sharing something they don't wish to, but again, not wishing to also violates absolute candor. And what's the big deal of sharing that she was the sister that brought her in? They're not Klingon inheriting the sins of the father, or in the case, mother.
Hmm. I didn't really see hesitance so much. And I also don't think that absolute candor means always speaking all the time and spilling your guts always. Like any word that enters your head, just pops out of your mouth. I don't think that. I think it means when you do speak, you speak with absolute candor, but you can still keep your own counsel. You can still, like, I don't know. That's what I think. I think it's not necessarily. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really, I mean, I rewatched that scene with thinking about what you said, and I was like, maybe. But again, I don't know that that's what that hesitancy was, I guess. Or I don't really know that I think it was hesitancy. What do you think?
I think that there's probably a difference between absolute candor and not having a filter. I don't think that
Yeah.
I think that in some ways, absolute candor has been shown to not have a filter, right? And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's necessarily the same thing. Like when we've
Yeah.
seen
Yeah,
Elnor,
I agree with that.
on Picard, he seemed to, yes, he seemed to have talk with absolute candor, but he seemed to have no filter, right? So he would just
Mm-hmm.
say whatever he was going to say, and and you have to. There are times when you can speak with absolute candor, but you have to, you wait for your moment,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I think. I think she was really considering to herself how her daughter would, I don't know, take what she was about to say or react to what she was about to say rather than, I don't want to say this. I think there's a difference between those two things.
Yeah. Yeah. So my initial take on what you said here was that I agree with you, but then I started thinking about it. It's like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean, just speaking whatever the hell you wanted to say, like just like blurting out, you know, like, um, like someone who has no filter would just
Mm-hmm.
speak whatever. I don't think that that's the case here. So, um, all right. And he has a second one with respect to Giovanni. He says, the conclusion with Michael being angry at the disposition of Giovanni, what's the point? An entire species was saved. Sometimes, guys, let's leave the politics out of things.
Hmm.
Yeah, I,
That would be nice, but
well, what do you think about that?
Um, I agree with what someone else said about it, and I don't know who it was. It might have been in a Hold Your Horses. Um, yes. Rick from Cleveland articulated very well in Hold Your Horses what I felt about that particular point
Okay.
that James made.
Well, we'll get to that in the Hold Your Horses, but okay. Okay, well, we got a couple more quick ones on that. I'll just
Will from SoCal, I will say it, you read
okay.
enough. Will from
Thank you.
SoCal says the no to politics allowing Giovanni to walk away, even though she saved an entire species from extinction. And then Wes from Minnesota says, Giovanni, in fact, I felt like the entire Qowat Milat plot didn't need to be here. It felt odd to me. I cannot disagree with that. It did feel a little once again shoehorned in sort of thing.
I mean,
like, what?
To that, I don't know about being well. The thing that if this episode felt like was a standalone episode, like in the whole plot, it was in a lot of ways. It was a big slowdown from the first two episodes of the seasons, particularly the first one. So it was more of a drama episode, I guess, than an action, science fiction episode. So but you need that, right? You can't have all 13 episodes be just go at a breakneck pace, because sometimes you have to let the story catch up.
Breathe a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
Here's my issue with the Qowat Milat plot. I feel like if the dilithium is free, why is he fighting so hard to keep her from taking it? Just let her have it. But yet he is in a death match, basically, and he knows he is. But why? It's not worth your life, because it's not like it's this commodity that to me, this person, whoever this guy is who got killed, is still dealing with the burn mentality. We have to hoard our dilithium. We have to hold on to it. She's coming to take it. Oh my gosh. Whereas I feel like that is completely opposite of how Starfleet was back in the 24th whatever century.
Yeah.
You want, here, take it, please, by all means. I mean, like, they don't. Theft is such a foreign concept, I think, to the Federation, that if someone wanted to take something from you and they wanted it that badly, I think any Federation person would be like, here, take it, please. They do have laws against some crimes, obviously, murder being one of them. But I think things having to do with property crimes is what you would call this, really, until the murder, are not really a thing. So if I feel like this is a huge no for me, because I feel like it sets up a false premise for the whole story. Like not that her killing him wasn't bad, but it was completely and absolutely unnecessary for the plot.
Yeah.
They didn't need to make her a murderer. They could have just said, we're trying to find this person who is making off with this stuff. They still could have gone with and we microchipped it, or, we low-jacked it, basically. So, they still could have done all that stuff. But I feel like the whole murder thing is a bridge too far. I can't get behind that. And it makes it sullies the Qowat Milat, in my opinion, to the point of and there's another situation where I just cannot get behind this particular plot device thing. And I guess if we're there, I might as well say another huge no for me is a red shirt Qowat Milat. I just don't think so. How many mercenaries were they fighting?
Yeah,
3?
And it wasn't a Qowat Milat that killed her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly my point. It was a merc, and there were only 3 of them.
Yeah.
There are so many issues I have with this. With this whole thing, I cannot get behind Burnham caving on the you don't get to take a phaser thing. That, I'm sorry, but no. Handing someone a weapon they don't know how to use is worse than sending someone in unarmed. It's sending them in armed against themselves. So
the Patreons will have a special treat this week.
Yeah. Well, you're setting them up for failure, basically. And if it were me, it's not like they didn't have phasers on the ship.
Yeah.
Okay? So if some a-hole shows up on my deck and starts waving a sword around at me, I'm grabbing the phaser, and your Qowat Milat sensibilities be damned. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But choose life? I think so. Okay. I mean, you didn't go down on the planet. You're not trying to sweet talk Javini into anything. So why did they not go for the phasers? Just because they had the swords in their hands?
That's a damn good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty hot under the collar about that when I was watching it. I was like, oh, the red shirt Qowat Milat, the fact that they didn't go for their phasers when they were on the ship.
Yeah.
On Book's ship, I should say, since the moon is also a ship. And just the whole like, you said you were going to do things the way that we wanted to do them. Well, also, President Rillick said you're in charge. So,
yeah.
like, I would have been like, I'm sorry, Mom, but no. And again, that's another Federation thing. They always carry phasers because they believe in protecting themselves. And it doesn't matter that any, XYZ, whatever, thinks that that's aggressive. Like, we have the right to defend ourselves. And it's true. And like, again, they weren't even on the planet. They were on the ship. And they killed the girl. And I just,
yeah.
It just, again, it's the whole thing starts with a faulty premise with that guy getting killed, which was completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
He should have.
Why didn't he have a phaser? Why didn't he have a phaser?
Yeah, like he was fighting with a sword too. What?
Yeah.
He knows that the dilithium is low jacked. Let her take it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand why he was fighting so vehemently to keep it from her. That just did not make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. But the thing that, and I think we're going to see, based on something that we see in the Ready Room, they have a preview of next week. So spoiler for those of you who don't want to hear this. I think I can talk about it without talking about what we see on the episode. I think we talked about this last week somewhat. I think that Discovery, it's not just the fact that they have a spore drive, it's that they have the best crew in Starfleet, because honestly, I think there is a problem.
Yeah, they have a Starfleet.
They have a Starfleet trained crew, and it's pretty clear that what we're seeing is that the Starfleet of the 32nd century ain't up to par. Like they're just not. They're just.
This is true.
It's like they don't know how to communicate with others. They don't, because to me, like this would be dealing with a bad guy 101. You got a tracker. Just let her take the dilithium. Just find where she goes, and that's how Tilly and Burnham find the dilithium. They know exactly where it went to, so that's all you really need to know. Just let them take it. It's like that's why you do the same thing with an expensive car. You put a tracker on it so that if it gets stolen, you can track it down. Same kind of idea.
I mean, no bank employer is going to tell you if robbers come in, fight to keep that money. Heck no. Let them take it. Let them take everything. It's not worth your life. And if that is true in the 21st century, why is that not true in the 30 whatever century?
Yeah, and it's kind of like, well, sorry, we'll get you next time, kind of thing. We'll speed you. We'll have Discovery bring it to you.
Yeah, I also didn't understand the whole secrecy behind the this race thing. Like, I don't get that at all. Why did she? I mean, she asked for it, but why? I don't understand. Like, there are so many things I didn't get about this whole thing. So she took this on as her Oh, I can't even remember the name of the word.
Kalin Kai or something like that.
Yeah, Kalin Kwai. But I mean, is the sisterhood so solitary? Solitary. That's a cross between solitary and sedentary, which solitary. Are they so solitary that they can't communicate with one another and let your other sisters know? I mean, I know she's been gone for a while, which I also don't understand. What's the point of that? But she can't communicate with her other quote Qowat Milat sis and be like, "Hey, I'm taking on this I got this whatever, what's the something cause?
Lost cause.
Lost cause. Yeah, I'm taking on this I got this lost cause I'm going for. I'm going to bind my sword to this lost
Like,
cause."
isn't there like
They don't
isn't there like
like a sign up sheet or something? Hey,
or
it's my lost cause this week.
or a Qowat Milat project manager or something?
Yeah. In which
it's
case,
time to have okay, guys, we're gonna have a status meeting on Tuesday.
have a status update. How's it going with your lost causes? Yeah, I mean, so there's that, but then also in like leading, or I should say adding on to that, she couldn't ask for the dilithium for the Qowat Milat. I mean, they said they're not giving it to individuals, but why would they not give it to the Qowat Milat? Why could the Qowat Milat not say, "Hey, we need this dilithium for this lost cause we got going on"? And then, the Federation being like, "All right, cool, here you go." But then, in addition to that, I don't understand the need for secrecy. Why are we so freaked out that we can't tell anybody about, hey, there's this race of people why? I mean, yeah, grave robbers, but again, if you think that's what the Federation is, then you got bigger problems. I don't understand the whole. I mean, it's been okay. 5 months is not that long of a time compared to the over 100 years that they spent with the burn. However, they made it sound like everything was peaches and cream again, and they were, rocking and rolling along with the whole getting people on board, and people were joining the Federation again, and yada yada yada. But now suddenly, we can't, we can't trust the Federation with this species that's been in cryosleep for whatever long, and we need to help them be able to move out of the way in case this anomaly shows up. I mean, it was loosely tied to the anomaly, and it felt there were just way too many problems with the whole setup. I just didn't like it.
I cannot disagree. There are some things that are not great about this, but anyway, I guess we're onto our own nose. So do you have anything else?
That was my biggest thing.
Okay.
I guess that's I don't know. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it.
Well, we talked about the first thing that I got written down. So, but I will say this: we've declared that essentially that Culber's a ship's counselor, and he was being called medical officer, not chief medical officer, which hopefully Pollard will be declared chief medical officer, or Culber will later be called chief medical officer. So if one of those two things doesn't happen, I'm going to throw something. So I just want to state it now. I already said it in my rating, but Tilly doesn't like cheese, which if you could ever offend me in any way, saying you don't like cheese is one of them. I sometimes tell the story that there was, this was like 20 years ago. I was being tested for allergies, and the allergist wanted to make sure that I didn't have a food allergy. So I had to go without cheese for a month. And if And if you know me, and if you know me from anything I'm saying right now, that month was the worst month of my life. I love cheese. I have cheese
I
on
love
everything.
cheese too. I love
Every
cheese.
meal, everything, anything that can have cheese will have cheese, right? For me. I
Have cheese,
love
we'll
cheese.
eat.
I love all kinds of cheese. There isn't a cheese that I don't love. Tilly, you don't love cheese? Shame on you. Shame on you. And macaroni and cheese is when it's good. Now, I've had today I had some macaroni and cheese that wasn't so good.
Questionable macaroni
Yeah,
and cheese.
Banquet does not make great macaroni and cheese. So
yeah, when mac and cheese is well done, is one of the best comfort foods ever.
Yeah. But
I don't understand the dislike for cheese.
Yeah.
But I am not going to come down on her as hard for that because, I mean, she likes what she likes and she doesn't like what she doesn't like. I can't be mad at her for not liking something that I like. However, I can be profoundly confused.
Now, not everyone likes every cheese, right? So like, if say you don't like Limburger, well, I kind of understand that one. Not everybody likes blue cheese. I get that too, right?
Blue cheese.
But yeah.
You know what's my favorite cheese? I think I finally decided my favorite cheese is Dubliner cheese. Oh, it's so good.
Dubliner cheese?
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I make my grilled cheese sandwiches with it and I can just eat it. It's tasty.
Make my mouth water.
Me likey the cheese. I like a lot of different kinds of cheese. The sharper, the better.
Yes, me too.
I was not a huge fan of brie. I don't know that I really like soft cheese like that, which was a shame
some
because
cream
I spent
cheeses,
10 months in France.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So anyway, I was a little disappointed in one of my favorite characters on the show not being a cheese lover. In fact, being a cheese hater. That was a little hard for me to take, but
yeah, disturbingly not delicious.
The thing, okay, so the thing I didn't understand is why was it necessary for Burnham to take Book ship? I didn't understand it.
Because it's pretty.
It's pretty. It's a set. They have to. They want to amortize it. It's better than one of their shuttles or something. And we never see like how did Discovery go to Vulcan or Navarre? Is that how they got there, or did they get there some other way?
How did Stamets get there?
Yeah,
I think Disco went to Navarre.
Yeah, and it seems like they couldn't have been very far away because whatever it was, that mission was the same day. Because when Tilly comes back and talks to Saru, it was thank you for sending me on that mission today. Or whatever.
Yeah, or
recommending me for that mission.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey because of plot device. It happened in one day.
Yeah.
Rather than it really took one day.
Yeah.
Like it's one day story time, not one day in real life. Because they didn't account for travel time. Which, if you watch some shows, the way that they hop back and forth between cities, you're like, making my head spin.
I originally had this one in my Hold Your Horses, but I think I'm going to put it here. So, along those lines, so Burnham has this conversation with Saru about that basically comes out with Saru asking Tilly to come on, and it's basically, well, they don't have combat. What was it? Something like she says, Tilly has a lot of skills, but combat isn't one of them. Okay. So why is she asking for a tactical officer? Why is she not asking for a security officer? And this is the question that I'm asking, because we know in the first two seasons of Discovery, actually the first 3 seasons of Discovery, was a chief security officer. First,
but she gone.
Yeah, first we had Landry, right? And then we had Ash Tyler, and then we had what's her name? Nan? Is it Nan? Yeah. And she's, minding seeds, I guess. But who became the security chief after her, right? So that's the question. It's like, why did she ask for a tactical officer? She should have asked for someone from security, not tactical. That's actually a different position, right? Like someone like, what's his name? Reese is a tactical officer. He's not a security officer. He's a tactical officer. It's a different, it's totally different job, right?
She wanted a SWAT officer is what she wanted. Yeah. Special weapons and tactics.
Yeah. If this was Enterprise, she want a Mako.
Exactly. Because she knew they were going up against a badass nun.
Right.
So she wanted somebody who could fight. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was an interesting choice to have Tilly on, and of course she brought, when she was brought up, that she can be very disarming. Well, yeah, more like she can be comedy relief, which she definitely was. But and I didn't dislike her in the role that she was in, but it was just weird for Burnham to ask for a tactical officer instead of a security officer. Okay, so, and I brought up the books thing. So the last thing is something I've noticed, and I especially noticed it the last 2 episodes. But, we finally got the episode of the Ready Room. It finally showed up on Monday, and at the time that we recorded on Saturday of the 27th, there was still no episode of the Ready Room. It finally showed up on the 29th. This one we got on its regular day and time. We got it Thursday the 1st. Okay. Or sorry, this was it the first? No, Thursday the 2nd, which is when we would normally get it. So the thing I'm noticing about it is it's got this kind of fakeness to it now. Like, it's like, hi, I'm Will Wheaton, and this is the show. And, it's kind of like slickly hosted. It's not so, I don't know, down home as it was. It just seems like there's a new producer at the helm of it. And I don't like the new direction of it. Like a lot of it's the same content. It's just, like I say, it's got this slickly produced veneer that I'm not liking.
Yeah. The set is pretty, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. It's just like there's a part of it where like we were saying before, in the things that Will is bringing up, I don't know if I can 100% trust that this is how he's feeling about it. I think this is how he's feeling about it, but based on some of the things he said today, I'm not 100% sure that what he's like, that he's speaking from his heart. He might be just towing the company line a bit, but it's not just that. It's just, I don't know. There's like a sheer to it that I don't like. And no, that's, that's of course it's
like a gloss.
Yeah. It's glossy, where I think it was much more, it had much more of a, this is here from a like a fan centered,
like
this
I'm
is
in my basement.
Yeah.
doing this
kind of
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
You know, from a point of love versus a point of corporation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing I noticed too is in all the clips, it has like very blatantly put on there, you know, says, you know, Star Trek Discovery on Paramount Plus, Star Trek Discovery on Paramount Plus. Where,
That's funny.
yeah. So
I was
anyway,
sort of feeling like some kind of way about it, and I'm not sure that I could necessarily articulate it either, but I kind of had the same sort of like, this is I'm not sure what to think about you anymore, Will Wheaton.
I'm curious if anyone else has the same impression that we seem to, because
Anyone else who's
I definitely noticed it.
watching the Ready Room.
Yeah, I definitely noticed.
Yeah,
it.
there is a certain something going on.
Yeah, and it's
what it is, don't know.
It is. You can even notice it from the first episode to the third. Like it's more pronounced, and maybe it was less pronounced.
He's just excited about having the set. I don't know.
Well, what I was going to say is if you remember, half of that first episode was with Kate Mulgrew, so it was done online. So it was done the old way. So it wasn't as polished, you know. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that like online quality actually helped the show. Who knows? But we'll see.
I mean, they were doing it that way before COVID, so
maybe
they were.
Maybe, but they had different hosts. I don't know. I don't remember. Because if you remember season...
Not with Discovery, but when Will was doing Picard, when he took over with Picard, it was in person.
Okay. Right. Okay. I'd have to go back and look at those episodes to see how they compare. Because they would have been shot before COVID really got off the ground. So...
Yeah, because all of Picard happened pre-COVID.
Right. All right. Well, anyway, that's all I've got for Nose this week. So let's move on to our favorite segment, at least in our terms of our jingle.
Hello, this is Captain Tilly. What the hell? What the hell? Hold your horses.
Classic Tilly. Are we waiting for another bumper or?
Well, Jeff from Idaho, I'm just going to start it. I guess I'll give it. So you say, hold your horses. And then you say that I desperately wish was still not good enough. Damn it. Not good enough. Well, guess what? I pushed the button. So it is for you.
Not good enough. Damn it. Not good enough.
Just for you, Jeff.
Okay. Just for you, Jeff.
Yep.
Hold your horses that I desperately wish was still not good enough, damn it. Not good enough. Yes. I agree. I like that one too. But I also like Tilly. It's so hard to choose. All right. He goes on to say, after Rillick's blunt assessment of Burnham in the last episode, or episode 1, whichever, it seems odd that she would send Burnham on the mission with the Qowat Milat, period, much less with her mother. Wouldn't Rillick fear that Burnham couldn't handle the enormous conflict of interest and that she would do something to jeopardize the burgeoning relationship with the Navarre? Although part of me thinks it's just the master conductor at work and we just can't see the last few pages of the score.
And just to reiterate, it still will be not good enough. You just have to wait until Picard and Strange New Worlds. We'll be using not good enough at both of those. And Lower Decks too, but I know you don't watch Lower Decks, but we use it there too. So it's only here that we use Hold Your Horses because it's Tilly. James, the Augmented Sailor, said, Tilly loses cool points for not liking mac and cheese with both Connor and I. My 2-year-old practically lives on it. I mean, who hates mac and cheese? Indeed, James, indeed. We are in agreement on this podcast.
Yeah. We don't understand the no mac and cheese thing. It's just to hold your horses for me, though.
Then he says, are the threshold salamanders populating the 32nd century? That's good. He says, oh gosh, I hope not. The shot of the creature's face looked like it could have been one of them. And it's an unknown species by 32nd century tech. And there's nothing to say that the cryo failure didn't allow these transwarp aliens to evolve yet again. So by process of elimination, these could be the descendants of Tom Paris and Catherine Janeway. Damn it. What have we done? If this is the case, this one I just wanted in as frivolous silliness, but did anyone see the connection with face? LOL. I don't know. I saw connections with different faces. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're reaching a little bit there.
Yeah.
But it's funny to think about, but I don't think anybody else is thinking about it. Just you.
Well, the funny thing is, there was someone was thinking about it was Mike McMahon, because it was that one episode where they had all those freaks on that ship, and we see one of the freaks was these salamanders, which look like, you know, the Janeway and Paris as salamanders.
Which episode was this?
I think it was from season 1.
Oh, okay. That was way too long ago for me to remember.
Yeah.
I will take your word for it.
It was the one. It was the one where what's his name? Boimler was had that transporter accident, and he was glowing. That was that one. So and the weird dog. The weird dog.
The weird dog.
Oh, you don't remember the dog that started going down the corridor as a solid square box? It's like just go. It was so funny. It's the weirdest show. Dog was floating. Dog was talking. This whole thing.
I vaguely remember, but not specifically.
Okay. All right. Next one is
so you and whatever that guy's name is, James, are the only people thinking about that. All right. Next, we have Will from SoCal, who says, please hold my horse. So, I am led to believe that the Qowat Milat are not respected or trusted enough to be given dilithium to save an entire species, yet trusted enough to bridge Navarre society. Yeah.
And I think the problem is that she went into it without the Qowat Milat. Like, she went in as a solo, right? She's not getting any
I think we talked about this a little bit. She didn't loop in the sis.
Yeah.
The sisterhood of the traveling lost causes.
Yeah. And that's the weird part. It's, you know, because when she first said that, Burnham's mom first said that, and she said that, oh, we haven't heard from her for years. I was like, you haven't heard from her for years? That's weird. Well, I guess they go on their lost causes, and they're just like, they go out about the galaxy.
It's outro.
Yeah.
I guess
it's like, so. I got a lost cause. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace out.
Oh, gosh. Maybe so.
That's what it seems like. But very
at
odd.
The same time, it didn't appear that she had a lost cause, because she collected one when she's she's wandering aimlessly through space, and she stumbles across this, you know.
I mean, how long?
The whole setup.
How long was she serving their lost cause? Was it, you know, was she protecting them for years when you know, the whole anomaly showed up, or was it just that wasn't explained?
That's a good question. No, that was not made clear.
I'm
I
guessing
mean, it
it
could
was
have been that she was there for years and years.
yeah.
But I don't know. That would have made her main mission, protecting them from grave robbers.
I mean, I would say if the aliens had traces of dilithium in them, that would have
Not
been
traces. It was a lot, apparently.
no latinum. They had
Latinum.
latinum in them. But if
Yeah, platinum.
they had dilithium in them, then I could see them being a much more
Yeah,
much more like prone to
likely to
grave
be.
robbery, right?
Yeah.
So to me that would have
So then this must have been a recent lost cause. In
I
other
don't know.
words.
I don't know. It seems like they used latinum just because of the Deep Space Nine references, because fit that. But it probably should have been dilithium, because that would have made more sense to the whole story.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then again,
Well.
they could have powered their ship with their own poop, probably.
Maybe. Who knows? That was one of the funnier scenes from last season. But
you're the one with Osira.
Apple.
It's made of shit, Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. I mean, because what else would it be made of? Where do you think they get the extra material from? Makes sense to me. Anyway, we are running far afield of our topic, I think.
What is this bizarre segue that's happening right now? Can we maybe stay on point?
I will love Karen forever for giving that to me.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't know. Like I have said and will say again, doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't understand it. I have many questions. Why? I don't know. I just don't know.
All right. Brian from Colorado is next. He says, the preview for next week gives a glimpse of the angle the writers are taking on the burn as an analog to the COVID pandemic, with the cadets not knowing how to act in person with others. Yes, I noticed this too, and I guess I should have said spoiler alert. I get why they're doing this as an allegory to how kids have had remote school the past year plus in many places, and thus have many lost some social/communication skills. But it's a little too on the nose the way it was portrayed in that brief clip. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised and it's handled in a less overt way. But based on what they're doing with the transplot elements, I think these writers just might not have the skills to expertly show rather than tell us such things in a more nuanced and natural way within the context of the plot. Well, go ahead, and you had something to say, but I have something else to say about it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Again, it did seem a little ham-fisted, but let's hold our horses for next week, shall we?
Yeah, and in fact,
see what I did there?
This is what I was going to say. Yes, I did. In fact, what I would have said, if I would have read this ahead of time, I would not have even read this. I'm going to leave it in. Yeah, because to me, this is not worth talking about yet. I'm sorry, Brian, but first of all, you're talking about next episode. And second of all, you're talking about, putting a hold your horse in about the next episode. Well, it's like, okay,
it's really a hold your horse for the ready room.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Which we don't really cover.
I mean, well,
especially
no, I mean,
this part
we just talked about it as but
we talk about it, but we don't really
I mean, maybe
when it comes to the next episode, that's sort of spoilery.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this be more appropriate at the end of the episode. Should we say it at the end of the episode?
I don't know. I agree. though, about the writers not really being able to do nuance. This is what I was talking about when I said someone else said it.
Yeah.
I feel like they just don't know how to do nuance. I don't know.
I've seen worse,
I've
but
seen better from Star Trek though.
I don't know. When I saw the plot, that story come out, it was on the nose, yes, but I kind of liked it because it wasn't
What?
a direct, it wasn't a directly, but it was very, it, there's a lot of that I want to see explored in my TV right now because I've seen this a lot in my own personal life where just the lack of people not being able to communicate anymore, and I just think that it makes total sense that you would see like a breakdown of teamwork. Because I said it in the first episode. I said that the theme of this season is going to be teamwork. Teamwork makes a dream work, and I think that so far I'm right. So we're going to see how much more I'm right next episode. So
yeah,
but it's true. I think that isolation causes people to not be able to relate to each other. They can't work with each other. They can't relate to each other. And
some people,
yeah,
not everyone.
not everyone. Some people adjust to it quite well, and others don't. So, all right. Anyway, our last. Oh no, it's not our last. Our third from last.
Our penultimate. That's not a thing. All right. Next, we have Rick from Cleveland who says, hold your horses for the riders on the exchange on Giovanni's sentencing and extradition. In one breath, they have Burnham advocating for leniency due to extenuating circumstances, and in the next, complaining about extradition to Navarre. What punishment is Burnham looking for? The Federation would have no death penalty, so the Navarre correction system should be just as good as the Federation. I agree. And this is what I was talking about when we were talking earlier about who said it.
Yeah, I had a problem with it too, actually.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense that she would object to this because, I mean, if anyone, like, is she judging them based on Romulans? Is that what it is? Or is...
I don't know.
Is she judging them based on like her mother? I don't know. It's very odd.
I don't know.
It's very odd that she can't that she just automatically just, I don't know. It's this whole disdain for politics that just, it feels a little forced to me.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention that.
Because
I was going to mention that actually.
Because Rick is right. In one breath, she's like pleading for leniency, but then shocked when they're handing her over to Navarre.
Yeah, it's kind of
really
like,
have it both ways.
Well, I want you to be lenient, but on our terms.
Yeah.
It's kind of like she expects. Well, if they turn over her to the Navarrians, they're just going to give her a slap on the wrist and say,
slap on the wrist.
Bad
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad Qowat Milat. Now go back to your sisterhood. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what she's expecting either, but I feel like you kind of can't have it both ways, sort of. I mean, you either want leniency or you don't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Next, Rick says, hold your horses for the Navarre Science Academy. So they deliberate on Stamets' theory, prove it wrong, but offer no other theory on what this thing could be. Maybe I missed something, but that seemed very strange given that Navarre is in the process of joining the Federation, and this is an unknown galactic threat. At least give us a one-liner that they will consider the data further or something, or do they know something they're not sharing? I miss regular Vulcans. Reunification is giving me trust issues.
Rick, this is a very astute observation that you're making here. I hadn't thought of it until you said that, but there was something very, I don't know. You would expect that the Vulcans would have presented something something alternative to this, or maybe suggested possible other things to look at, or it's kind of like, nope, don't see it. Well, I guess you're going to have to keep looking.
Yeah, I didn't understand the necessity for going there if that's all they were going to do. They could have just sent the data, had them analyze it, and then been like, no, sorry, we didn't find that. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, and it's also, strange that they didn't collaborate. They just were there deliberating, and then that's it. Like, in a way, it's the same. It's just like what we just talked about. If you think about it, these Vulcans don't know how to deal with humans or anyone else. They don't know how to interact with each other, for that matter, because they're not like I don't know, how are they sharing their information together? We don't see that.
I don't know.
They weren't
Maybe
doing it telepathically.
No, maybe they were passing it along on their little comm badges things.
And by the way, I wanted to see the little the little like pupil Burnham thing, and the thing that Child Spock was in the movies, that teaching place, those teaching pods. I wanted to see a teaching pod, or I wanted to see a study pod. How come we didn't see that? They're just in a circle.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But anyway, you bring up some good points there, Rick. And like I say, the thing I can think of just talking about it now is it feels like this is an example of people not being able to communicate, not being able to interact. And I would expect the Vulcans to have healthy discourse, both with each other and with Stamets. Otherwise, why bring them there at all?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you said, just send them the data.
I mean, and we know that they did send the data, but at the end of the show, I was like, what was the point of being there? I mean, Trina could have done the mind meld with them, with Book.
And Stamets could have joined there by hologram. I mean, there was no real point of them being there, really, except to get a mind meld, which, like you said, could have happened anywhere.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Don't know.
Yeah. All right. Kim from San Diego and Prodigy, of course, is next. She says, the new uniforms look stunning in photos, but I feel like the tops are too bulky and everyone looks kind of stiff in them. The bottoms and the new shoes are great, but the tops are still not right. I don't know. It's like everything that this costume designer seems to make is stiff. That's the one thing I will say. They're beautiful looking, but stiff. But then again, you could probably say this for every Star Trek except for Enterprise. That's the only one that had good uniforms, is Enterprise.
Yeah.
That's the one uniform that I could see wearing.
I agree. All right, next we have Wes from Minnesota. We did not get to see the Jantara done via a great distance by Z, which would have been the first time we saw that done over a great distance. As we saw in DS9, it had to be done in person.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
All right, what do you have for Hold Your Horses?
Normally I appreciate Tilly's sidebars, but not the time when she was telling the story about her mom. I mean, what was she wanting them to hug it out or something? They were having a meaningful discussion about something important, and she was like,
It's kind of like,
let's not fight.
yeah,
It's like, that was not helpful.
come on, let's get along.
Yeah, can't we all just get along? Not always. Sometimes we have to argue. Let's see. What else? The grave robbers looked a lot like the mercenaries, didn't they?
They did, yes.
I was like,
Same
what?
costume design.
Yeah. I did not understand the primordial wormhole theory. It did not seem like it would cause that kind of destruction, I guess. I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure about this with this whole, I don't know. Traveling black hole seems like more something that it would be to me anyway. I don't know.
Well, the whole idea of it not having tachyons, I guess, means that there's no.
It's not a wormhole.
Yeah.
I think that's all I got for Hold Your Horses.
I guess if you're going to use this in a, I don't know what to think about this, or we need to see more of this. I guess it would be the bar. I want to see more of the bar.
Mm.
So where's it been all this time? Would be my question. It was fantastic scene, which we've talked about already, and I've got more in the spot the references. That was a treasure trove as far as this show is concerned. But aside from that, a lot of it seemed to be just a convenient, reason to bring Burnham's mom back.
Yes.
That's the one thought I had. And also like some, I don't know, weak string to tie Navarre to the Federation. It's an excuse to get Navarre a little closer to the Federation. So let's have something happen that, involves the Federation, that let's get them on a joint, mission here. And let's of course make it that the only one that they'll send will be Burnham, and the only one that they'll send will be Burnham's mom.
Yep.
So I guess that kind of thing is worth Hold Your Horses. And we've already beat it to death, but I don't know where this whole gray storyline is going, and we've talked about it, beat the dead horse, but I'll beat it again here because it needs to be beaten a few more times. So
Yep.
that's just it is. I'm glad that this character has a body now. It's somewhat dubious. I like it for them tying the loose end of anyone could have a body just like Picard did. They've made that a little harder to come, to make happen. But I just feel like I don't know. He doesn't have a purpose yet, and maybe his purpose is to die, and that will get something out of Adira. But again, that makes him fail the Bechdel test, I think, because his purpose is only to affect Adira in some way. So he's the anti-Bechdel test, I guess. Anyway, those are the only things I can think of right now for Hold Your Horses. I'm still kind of, I don't know where this is going. So that's it. All right. So let's move on to our feedback section and open hailing frequencies. Okay. So our first is a voicemail, and it's the only voicemail that we got this week, and it is from Jeff X-Force 11.
Hello, Star Trek fans. This is Jeff X-Force 11 leaving my thoughts about Discovery Choose to Live, or you could title it Healing. I really enjoyed this episode for a lot of reasons because we got to see steps made in dealing with PTSD and healing, new lives beginning, lives being restored, and next steps being made. I like the fact that they are taking things one step at a time, and the Qowat Milat path idea of these characters who've been dealing with stress are taking the next step down the path to healing. And I just appreciated that even in the midst of this big season with the gravitational anomaly and everything else, this show is about character, and we can take a break from that pace and that bigger arc and deal with the characters. And I really appreciate that about this series because the characters really make this series, and I am so invested in the story. I just really appreciate it. I'm really enjoying this season, and it's one of the reasons that I'm really drawn to Discovery is the strong characters that we have in the midst of the big story and the action and everything else. So those are my thoughts. X-Force 11 signing out.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff X-Force 11, for your feedback. As usual, keeping that streak alive. Next steps. I like that. That's a good way to look at it, and positive outlook. I was trying to look up exactly what she said there, and it is this path is over. This path is over. Choose to live, and your next path will, find its way. So I don't know. I don't remember specifically what the line is, but it's along those lines. So anyway, that's it. You have anything you wanted to say?
No.
Okay. All right. So we've got a few brief things for feedback. I'll say the first one. Jeff from Idaho says, favorite line is, can we discuss the schedule for the day? Science first, nap later.
It's funny. I thought that, I don't know, I didn't really find it believable that Stamets wouldn't understand how the Navarre Science Institute people would be working on the problem. Like, I was like, I don't understand why he's so surprised about this. But
well, yeah,
he explained it differently.
Now that you mention that, because he was going to take a position on Vulcan, right? He was going to take a position on Vulcan at the Vulcan Science Academy, I believe.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah, season 2. So you'd think he would have known, but maybe 23rd century Vulcans were different in that regard.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
I don't know. I just thought that kind of, especially his reaction, I felt, this is another instance of me feeling like the writers are just missing the mark. Like it's almost like they're trying too hard for something. I'm not quite sure. Like, I just don't find it believable that Stamets would react that way. Science now, nap later. I mean, I get he's prickly, but at the same time, like I said, he should know their process. Well,
along those lines, it reminds me of someone or a show whose, producers have changed throughout the course, and the ones that wrote the thing about him going to the Vulcan Science Academy to to take a position there aren't with the show anymore. So him having knowledge of how the Vulcans do their, business isn't there anymore. So, that's why.
I need to get a Bible.
Yeah.
Show Bible. Oh my gosh. I don't know how many showrunners Next Generation had, but they didn't ever seem to have this problem that I remember.
Well, probably because they didn't have to keep a running story.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes I feel like that is not helpful for because they always have to come up with something bigger and worse and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, you can do that on a show where one person has a vision for X number of seasons. They already know what they're going to do and where they're going. But this show has had so many people, so many cooks in the kitchen. I'm just not sure the whole the galaxy is in trouble again and we're the only ones who can save it thing is working.
I mean, they can't do this story again next year.
I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
Because they say that they're going back to basics, I guess, more or less. I'm like, please, do you promise? Because sometimes I wonder if they know what they're doing. Same thing with Picard, but that's a different story. Anyway.
All right. Believe you're next.
All right. James the Augmented Sailor says, by the way, does anyone get the slight double entendre of Tilly going Qowat Milat? I don't know that that's a double entendre, but maybe a foreshadowing. I feel that the convo between Michael and Gabrielle at the end really could have been fitting for her. She dug the absolute candor and she's always had it. I thought that Gabrielle was talking to Gabrielle. Sorry. I thought Gabrielle was talking to Tilly at the end.
Yeah. I mean, to answer the question, no. I didn't have that. However, there is this kind of thing that they seem to be suggesting that her going outside of her, comfort zone, maybe that means her leaving the ship at the end of the season.
Maybe.
Now to do what?
I'd be sad if that happened.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what that, if that's what they're hinting at, but or maybe it's something that they're hinting at, maybe not at the end of the season, but maybe she goes, we know where she is.
She go and walkabout?
No, well, we see the little preview of next week's episode. She and Adira are going to Starfleet Academy for a little training soiree, to help teach the cadets how to work together. And maybe she starts to teach at the academy for a semester. Maybe she does that while she's working on a play on Broadway. Hint, hint. Marie Wiseman went, is going to be on Broadway in a couple of months. So maybe she was working on that. I have
no idea.
Yeah. So, although I don't know, timing wise, I don't know if that would make sense, but it just makes me think that either maybe she's going to be off the show for a few weeks working on this, and that's what they're setting up, or maybe they're setting up that she's going to be off the show next season for a while, or maybe permanently. And, that's what they're setting up. I don't know, but that's what it seems like to me. And I don't think that them getting her off the show, I don't know. I don't see Mary Wiseman wanting to leave the show. I just don't. So if they were doing that, I don't think would be on her end. For one thing, her husband loves the show. And I don't know, if anything, that just, there's so much of a family there. I just don't see her wanting to leave unless there's a reason for it. So I could see her going to do something and then coming back. So that would make sense to me. So anyway, that's my thought. They're trying to set something up, I think. What it is, we don't know yet, but if it means her leaving the ship for a while, I could see it. All right. Brian from Colorado is next. He says, PS/feedback. It was nice to finally learn of Culber's official jobs as medical officer, not chief medical officer, and ship's counselor. Does that mean Pollard is the chief medical officer? Well, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yep. Next, we have a little bit more from Rick from Cleveland, who says, this was an overall solid episode where the B plot of Stamets and Book moved the overall season arc along well, and the A plot of pursuing Giovanni was great Trek-style episodic storytelling. We also had the C plot of Gray and Adira, and even an interesting D plot of Tilly, which packed the episode with a lot. This observation doesn't fall into a usual category, but meh, to the resolution this week on Gray getting a body. That was weak and entirely predictable writing. I want to get excited for Gray and Adira, but something just keeps falling flat. They were more compelling in the ready room than on the show.
Seems to be 100% everybody in agreement.
Consensus.
Yep. Kim from San Diego and, of course, Prodigy is last on our feedback this week. She says, I like the Michael Tilly story. I bought that the Federation president believed she could manipulate Michael emotionally enough to get what she wanted by using Michael's mom and playing to her strengths. Also liked the link of Booker to President Tarina. Did not care for the Dira Gray story. Lacks emotional impact for me. Swing and a miss.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. It is now time for our other notes. So, what do you have?
I think that Michael is presuming a lot and has a clear bias against Rillick because she assumes that the president didn't know anything about the victim or care. I mean, I'm going to reiterate again that she seems to unfairly judge the president for things off screen, I guess. I can only say there are things off screen because they haven't really shown anything to warrant this biased behavior towards her. I mean, we already know that she's clearly capable of reading somebody's file and figuring out what to say in the first episode. Yeah, it was first.
Yes,
and,
first episode.
Yeah. And so I just don't, why would she assume, she's assuming the worst. I'm like, why would she assume that the president, I mean, it rang hollow to me, pointing out that he had a family, Well, yeah, no shit. It's like, gosh. I mean, what kind of heartless person or whatever do you think that she is? I don't know. I'm not liking this made up antagonism between the president and Michael. If someone can please point out to me the reason why she's being so, I don't know, it kind of seems like whiny to me about it, then
Plot device.
Tell me. Huh?
Plot device.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's getting kind of old.
It is.
Let's see. I think Adira, assuming it would only take a few minutes for Gray to fully incorporate, was a bit naively optimistic.
Yep. As tall, she should know that it would take a long time, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm curious about Latinum still being the currency of the galaxy. In 900 and something years, they didn't find anything precious.
I want to know what is latinum, and
Yeah.
because it's supposedly, isn't it liquid or something?
It is a liquid.
Yeah.
Which is why Morn was able to keep it in his stomach, his second stomach.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Why he lost his hair.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a liquid. But, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what it is, other than it's a liquid and it's precious, and they press it into gold bars because gold is worthless, apparently. Or the only reason gold is valuable is because of the latinum that it's pressed in it. So there we go.
What else you have?
Nothing.
Well, all of the things that I was going to say in this section have already been said. So I'm going straight into spot the references. And I've got a few this week. Do Romulans know the Vulcan neck pinch? One thing that I brought up last week, and I could have put this in the notes, but I put it here. Saru's garden quarters are back. And of course, we see that this week. The process used by Guardian Z is similar to the one used in DS9's Facets. That was probably the first time we've seen it. There's a reference to when Burnham went after Spock because she believed he wasn't a murderer. In a similar way, her mother uses that as an example, kind of thing. And yes, the latinum we brought up, and of course, the Ferengi are famous for their use of gold pressed latinum. Speaking of Ferengi, this whole bar scene was a Deep Space Nine callback with perhaps some 10 Forward mixed in there.
Yeah, it definitely felt more DS9 though.
Yes, but it did have a bit of a 10 Forward look to it. But specifically, the big thing we see is a Ferengi bartender. There's a fireplace behind the bar, and I know that there was a fireplace in one of either it was TNG or DS9. I'd have to go back and look, but I seem to remember there being a fireplace somewhere in there. Of course, Dr. Culber and Adira are playing darts, just like Dr. Bashir and O'Brien. And there is a Lurian in the bar as well. So, speaking of Lurians and speaking of cold press platinum, as you mentioned.
For Morn.
Yeah. Morn! Anyway. There's, of course, this is the first example since coming to the 32nd century. We've seen of a mind meld. We'd seen mind melds on this show before, of course, but not in the 32nd century. We had seen them in the 23rd century. The Vulcan Science Academy is still going strong. It hasn't been, or did they call it the Navarre Science Academy? I don't think.
They called it the Navarre Science Academy.
Okay. So it has been renamed, but it's still there. Of course, the Star Wars reference, this isn't a moon. The USS Credence, NCC 2804. So either they reset the numbers or it's been going on that long. And the Stargazer was NCC 2894. So it could have been a nod to that. And we hear Jolan True, which of course we first heard in Unification 1. So eat your soup, Jolan True.
Jolan True.
All right, so that's it for our references this week. So let's move on to Shipwide Announcements. Don't have a lot of Shipwide Announcements this week, but we do have something that will, if we haven't had enough controversy this week, we'll have a little bit more now. So the Ready Room this week, if you didn't get a chance to see it, there was some segments about the DMA, the dark matter anomaly, and Saru's pin. And they also had an interview with Blue Derbario and Ian Alexander, who, of course, play Adira and Gray on the show. And okay, so please don't hate me for this, but I was very confused by one of the things that got said in this episode. So help me out. Ian referred to the fact that there are 2 trans characters on the episode or on the show. Now, okay, I understand that Gray is trans, okay? But Adira, does this make Adira trans? It makes Adira queer. I get that. Okay, but trans?
I think he misspoke.
You think so?
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't think I don't.
Like, has Blue undergone some sort of surgery that I don't know about?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
As far as news, there's not a lot of news this week. Not, with it being just after the holidays and whatnot. Of course, the holidays were last week, but there's still, it being holiday season. I think the news sort of stops a little bit. But one thing to note, Prodigy's pilot, Lost and Found, will air on December 17th on Nickelodeon. So it's going to come out, and it's possible that all of the episodes will air once the show comes back on Paramount Plus on January 6th. So that's interesting. I wasn't sure if they were going to do that, but it makes sense. Star Trek Discovery actor Anthony Rapp is helping Paramount Plus celebrate the holiday cheer this season. He recorded a promo video promoting 30 days, a 30-day trial as part of their campaign, using his incredible singing voice. Of course, he's known for being in musicals like Rent and whatnot, but he sings a parody of the classic holiday tune Jingle Bell Rock. So he was used for that. And it's not really clear from this press release or this what I read on dailystartreknews.com. Hero Collector or Eagle Moss, it's same. I don't really understand the difference between the two. They're the ones that have the die-cast models. Of course, I have a few of them here. I have like 4 of them. But they're having a new collection, calling it the Star Trek Starfleet Starships Collection. And according to the press release, each model in the collection, which will eventually encompass over 60 ships, comes with a magazine that includes a detailed profile of the ship, as well as behind-the-scenes information about its creation, complete with original sketches and art designer interviews. The monthly collection will include ships such as the USS Enterprise 1701D, the Defiant, the 1701 original, the Voyager, the NX-01 Enterprise, and they're designed to be as screen accurate as possible. Now, what I don't understand is they basically had this before, so I'm not sure if this is a relaunch or they're redoing the ships, with better materials now, or what. I'm not really sure. I couldn't get that from the website. So I don't know if anyone has anything that they want to say about that. I'd be curious to know. But anyway, as far as last thing is Parrot Analytics this week. Star Trek Discovery in the digital originals has gone up a notch to number 8 this week with 26.9 times the average demand of his show up from number 9 and 25.1 times. So is good. Of course, that could be a result of the, news from last week. Who knows? So it'll be interesting to see what it does next week. All right. That's it for dues. So Ruthie, give my voice a rest and tell people how to contact us and send feedback.
Okay. To submit your feedback and theories, go to talkthroughmedia.com/feedback, where you can submit text or audio. You can call us and leave a voicemail at 216-232-6146. You can send us an email to StarTrekDiscovery@talkthroughmedia.com, or you can post in our designated episode thread in our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts. As of right now, the deadline for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 4 will be the normal day and time, but as always, subject to change, Friday, December 11th, 2021 at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. If you would like to support us, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram as soon as we figure our Twitter out. At Star
Yes,
Trek
we had a bit of a Twitter malfunction.
Malfunction. There you go. Twitter malfunction. You can like our posts when they come out, and don't forget to retweet. You can share our posts on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. You can write a review. You can subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts or the podcast client of your choice, and give us a rating or review while you're there. You can also rate and review us on Podchaser, which also allows you to rate or review even individual episodes. So, of course, another way to help support us is via Patreon. And right now we would like to thank our Patreon supporters: James Robbins, Kim Vogley, Brian Shiro, Christoph Leitner, Michael Carrier, Stephen Chambers, Jeff Gentry, X-Force 11, Robert Kaiser, Clint McCollum, Mike, Trey Whipkey, Lawrence Todd, Kyle McAdams, The Quail, and our brand new Patreon supporter, Jeff Bayako. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you're not a Patreon supporter, the next fastest way to get our episodes is on YouTube. Those videos go out first before the podcast hits the regular feed. And all of our new episodes for the network are there. Just search for Talk Through Media, and remember to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when we have new videos. All of the podcasts from Talk Through Media can be found on the Talk Through Media all-inclusive feed, which also includes the Rebinge DS9 podcast and the Walking Dead Talk Through. Kyle, LT, and myself will be doing the last episode of Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through for the half season, and then the full series finale of World Beyond, but it's going to air a little later. Unfortunately,
because reasons.
Yeah, some personal
that may or may not be explained later.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, personal matters, going to cause a delay of the podcast on that side. So, but we'll have that episode coming to you later this month. So, our next episode of the Star Trek Discovery podcast, Season 4, Episode 4, titled All Is Possible. We don't know who's written it or directed it, and we don't have a description yet. But we did see the preview on the Ready Room, and we see Kovich for the first time this season, and we see Tilly and Adira going to Starfleet Academy to help train some dysfunctional cadets. So until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm Ruthie.
Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.